Hello, everyone. Welcome to Politics Today, live on Channels Television. I'm sure Kimbale in Abuja studio. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. It's the beginning of a new week, and it does look like some of your political stories are gaining momentum yet again. You don't know how this thing plays out. That when it gets started like this, and that's how it gets on through the week. And so we've started again. So let's get you up to date and let's get started. Let's start by telling you that the coalition of northern groups say that they have opposed any zoning arrangement by political parties, describing it as unconstitutional and a plot to intimidate the North from contesting for the presidency in 2023. Speaking at the news conference in Abuja, the spokesperson of the group, Mr. Abdul Aziz Sulaiman, says the group aligns completely with the position of the Northern Governors Forum and ask the political parties to jettison the idea of zoning.
We find the renewed desperation by the South to threaten northern people's right to franchise a deliberate attempt to bastardize democracy, cause greater instability in the guise of a contentious and democratic power shift arrangement, and therefore downright unacceptable. The CNG, after due consultation with prominent stakeholders, leaders and elders, has categorically resolved to firmly and solidly align completely with the position taken by the Northern Elders Forum as expressed by Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed and that of the Northern Governors Forum, that zoning of elective positions is unconstitutional, undemocratic, and must be jettisoned. For the avoidance of doubt, therefore, the CNG hereby declares that the North, a major stakeholder in whatever happens in and to Nigeria, shall not be obliged to respect any zoning arrangement of any elective position in whatever party.
Those are strong positions, not like you've not heard something similar. But this very new one, what does this mean? We'll break it down, we'll touch on it, we'll discuss it. Plus our major conversation also will be about what the governors of the South said. Yet another governors forum meeting that we've seen today from Port Harcourt. Stay with us, everyone, because when we come back, after giving you the political roundup stories, we'll talk more on that. Take a listen to your political roundup stories.
Critical stakeholders in the urban planning and building industry have demanded for a more deliberate and right actions from government at all levels towards accelerating urban action for a carbon emission-free world. They gave the charge in Abuja, the Ogun State capital, during the celebration of this year's World Habitat Day held at the state capital. While addressing participants at the event, the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, promised the necessary political support just as he announced the creation of 3 new core competence agencies to ensure due diligence in its urban renewal project.
We are amenable and receptive to robust engagement in order to ensure that the greater majority of our people and states do prosper.
With the increasing spate of insecurity bedeviling the nation, continuous training of military personnel to brace up to its job of safeguarding the nation is key. Governor Ifeanyi Okowa emphasized this at the formal flag-off of the Nigerian Army 63 Brigades training program, coded Exercise Stillwater, at the brigade base camp in Asaba.
Everyone for staying with us. So let's get started. Nigerian governors are not relenting, having their efforts in driving home their demands and stance on some major national issues. Today, it was the turn of the Southside governors to air their views. The governors met in Port Harcourt, the capital of Rivers State, today, where they resolved that States in the region should join the suit filed by the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FRS, challenging the collection of value-added tax, VAT, by states. The Delta State Governor and Chairman of the Forum, Ifeanyi Okowa, was the one who read out the communique, who briefed reporters at the end of the closed meeting. The forum also deliberated extensively on regional and national issues and resolved to approve the establishment of a regional security outfit to be launched very soon. Take a listen to Governor Ifeanyi Okowa after their meeting.
After an extensive deliberation, the Council resolved: 1. Bearing in mind that most of the BRICS states have established their state security organs, we approve the regional security architecture, which will be launched very soon. 2. Unequivocally supports the decision for states to collect value-added tax and resolve to join the suit before the Supreme Court. 3. Council urged the President and the National Assembly to take necessary measures to review some unfair aspects of the recently signed Petroleum Industry Bill, now Act, to ensure fairness and equity. It urged that the amendment should include a clear definition of host communities and that the trustees should be appointed by state governments. 4. Council called upon the President and the federal government to uphold the law establishing the Niger Delta Development Commission by appropriately constituting its board. In addition, it expressed the hope that the federal government would make the forensic audit report public and deal justly and fairly with the report, with a view to strengthening the capacity of NDDC to meet its obligations to the people of the region. 5. Council regretted that the President and the federal government had generally failed to give reasoned consideration to requests made by the region during the dialogue with a special federal delegation led by Professor Ibrahim Gambari, Chief of Staff to the President. Notable among the requests were the relocation of NNPC subsidiaries and IOC headquarters to the Niger Delta, and the completion of a number of federal projects in the region, notably roads.
Well, you heard the outcome of their meeting today. What does this mean? There are very major ones that we'll pick out tonight for conversation. We cannot discuss everything, but we need to unpack it and give you a sense of what this all means altogether. So let me introduce my guest tonight for you. Virtually, I have a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Ebun Olu Adegborua. He joins us from Lagos, as well as Senator Gasham Bassi. He's a senator representing Cross River State in the National Assembly. And from our Lagos studio is also our senior lawyer, Mr. GT Ogunye. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us tonight. Let me begin with you, Mr. Ogunye. Perhaps this has become a season where we find governors congregate and pushing out their own agenda. And we've seen this happen from region to region. Sub-regions are also now doing it, the South-South governors. But one thing that is very instructive, and as a lawyer, I'd like you to expatiate on, is other states joining in the suit of the VAT. What is the implication of that?
Well, the current VAT agitation, which is now ripening to potentially a very robust legal tussle between or amongst the states in the Federation, because some of the states are contrarian and opposing state collecting the VAT. And of course, the federal government will again join, expectedly. Started as a solo effort historically. Rivers State flagged it off, and Lagos State joined, Ogun State, and some other states joining. And now all the southern states have adopted that position. And so we're going to have this litigation and adjudication of the matter. Now, one track may be to say that this sheer grandstanding, particularly in the light of the political campaign season that will soon come, and that just like the presidency zoning controversy, that this is just politics of positioning and politics of you know, brinkmanship, you know, bargaining and all that. But one cannot but recognize the salience of the issues as they pertain to the issue of fiscal federalism. This may come by way of default now if there is litigation and adjudication on it, and then the position of the states is vindicated. One cannot but recognize the salience of these issues and how important legal issues they are currently. Because the argument is simple, regardless of how it's being driven by partisans and all the people on the two sides of this simple argument. And that argument is that the powers of the National Assembly, the power of the federal government to collect taxes or generate taxes are traceable to the power of the National Assembly to legislate on generation and collection of taxes. In turn, the power of the National Assembly to then legislate are contained in the so-called exclusive legislative list in the first part of the second schedule of the Constitution. So, if you look at Section 58 and Section 59, the kind of taxes that can be generated by the federal government as may be legislated on by the National Assembly are stipulated. And the argument is that once the consumption tax, the value-added tax, is not therein stipulated, then the states can generate these taxes. Now, those who oppose this position are demurring, they are objecting, and they are saying that just as it's been done, just as it's been the case for long, it should continue. But even as they so argue, it's been suggested, or it has even happened, that the federal government is now quickly dashing to the National Assembly to legislate so that the power to collect that tax can then be made exclusive to the federal government, which again throws light or sheds light on the matter. That if indeed the power is exercisable by the National Assembly and in turn by the federal government of Nigeria, then they will not be going via the route of legislation as an intervention and as a resolution. Anyhow, you may look at it, the matter is now going to court, and the court will be called upon, as our court is usually called upon, to then, which is very instructive, to look at what the law is as of today, as against what the law ought to be, as it is being argued by a party to this argument. And if the court has to look at what the law is as today, I reckon very much that the court, in this case the Supreme Court, may not do more or less than what is done before in a number of cases, including the case of Obi and INEC. You recall that in that case, the argument was pushed that the tenure, of the governor of a state under Section 180, subsection 2 of the Constitution, should be 4 years, and that regardless of when that governor, is sworn in, it should be 10 years, 4 years certain, and that the previous 3 years spent in default by the previous governor, who was ousted by court via the election petition determination, should be added. And the court rejected that and said, no, we can't do that. Our duty is to look at what the law is. It is not our duty to read the mind of the law and say that this is what they should have legislated. If they have ruled, the legislators can then take or pick up the gauntlet and then legislate as they may wish. But what the court always does is to say what the law is at any point in time and not what the law ought to be.
All right.
But hey, before we start playing the court, the matter is before the court will decide the matter, And I think that the earlier the court decided that the better for everybody, so that this controversy can then be pushed behind all of us. But if the parties do not want the court to so adjudicate, and they think that in the spirit of ADR, the lawyers also advocate these days very much, and the court also sanctioned that the path of arbitration or compromise and political discussion is the path to tread. I think that they should better do that rather than belaboring our over-congested court and compelling it by the force of the matter they are submitting before it to then adjudicate one way or the other.
All right. That's just one of the issues, though. Let me go to Mr. Ibonolu Adegborua. Give us a sense of what, I mean, because I'm seeing some kind of complication and complexities in this whole matter. For example, over the last few days, we understand that some states in the north are actually going to court to oppose this matter. Now, the court has agreed that Lagos should join Rivers State in the matter. Now, other states in the south say they are joining Rivers and Lagos. By implication, in court, because this then takes us to the fact of how do we resolve this matter in the interest of the average Nigerian who does not know where to pay the VAT to and is confused. I remember the last time we spoke, you clearly broke it down for us. But this new dimension to it now, where we have more states in the fray, what are the implications?
Thank you very much for having me. I think it's for us to generally commend their excellencies, the governors of the various states, who have expressed the desire to submit their disputes for adjudication before the competent authority, in this case, which is the court. Because under Section 6 of our Constitution, it is the courts that have the prerogative to determine dispute between persons and governments. So it's a commendable move in the sense that we operate a democratic system of government, and so people should not take laws into their hands, but submit their dispute for judicial adjudication. But in relation to the matter that is pending in court, I'm afraid that the dispute between the states and the Federal Inland Revenue Service cannot be resolved through the forum of the current case pending in the Court of Appeal, because the pristine of that case is limited to the judgments of the Federal High Court in Port Harcourt. And you remember, Sean, that a lot has happened since that judgment was delivered. The judgment was in respect of the capacity of Rivers State or FIRS to collect VAT. But since that case was filed and judgment was delivered, Rivers State has proceeded to promulgate a law. Ditto for Lagos State, which has also promulgated a law. Those laws are not before the Court of Appeal, because those laws were made after the judgment. And the Court of Appeal is not a court of trial to hear cases afresh or as a court of first instance. So whichever way the judgment of the Court of Appeal goes in respect of the dispute as to VAT will not affect the laws that have been properly promulgated by the Houses of Assembly of Rivers and Lagos State. But I think that for us as common people, our interest is not in who collects VAT or who retains VAT, but what the governments, either federal or state, use the proceeds of the collection for. Do we see the impact in the lives? I'm afraid no. What has Rivers State done with the VAT that he has collected in terms of his share so far? What has Lagos State done? So look, the debate about revenue collection should be taken to the level of its relevance and usefulness to the ordinary people of Nigeria. not this debate between the government as to who collects and then there is no accountability. So I think that generally we should start questioning the leaders as to the use of the tax being collected from the people of Nigeria, and then put them to account in terms of projects executed, in terms of the promises made to the people of Nigeria, whether they have been fulfilled or not. And so I think that for me, a political solution is desirable, because if the court cannot resolve the dispute, then we should not mislead our people, through these motions for joinder by the various state governments as a way of trying to give the impression to the people of their states that they are fighting on their behalf or protecting their interests. So beyond the grandstanding, as my learned friend has said, about joining and to seek popularity, the parties should sit down towards working out a political solution, because it is in the interests of Nigerians that this dispute is not prolonged beyond what we see now. By the time the states come with their various applications to join, I don't think that this case will be determined even before the next general elections in 2023, in which case politicians will just be taking us for a ride without really addressing the nitty-gritty of the issues at stake presently. So I think they should work out a political solution as contained in the manifesto of the All Progressive Congress and the PDP for fiscal federalism.
Interesting. Let me bring Senator Gashambasi into the conversation. Senator, it's not only the VAT matter that was discussed today. Several other issues. The issue of the NDDC, the regional security outfit was also discussed. The issue of bringing those oil companies' headquarters to the region was also discussed. What comes out to you as a major factor that will affect the lives and livelihoods of the people of the region?
Yeah, thank you, Shehu. Well, for me, I think our governors have done very well. They have tried in their own way project the feelings of the people of the South-South. And so I must commend the governors for the way in which they've gone about it. On every occasion, they have spoken the minds of the people of the South-South, whether it is in terms of fiscal federalism, in terms of security, in terms of the other issues, the PIB and so on, the PIA and so on. I think they have continued to speak the minds of the people of the South-South. So I must commend them. What comes out to me? What comes out to me is this advocacy by our governors to reflect the feelings and what we, the people of the South-South, want. And so that is what comes out to me.
For you as a politician, it does look like we're seeing a lot of push from governors and making demands of the federal government. Does this raise any question on the nature and the quality of our federalism?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't in any way. I think that is the nature of our federalism. For me, I even think that the whole issue on EAT and so on reflects the key issue of fiscal federalism and devolution of power. And as long as we're on that road, we're traveling on that road of fiscal federalism and devolution of power, I think we're on the right track. So for me, I'm very okay with that.
They also said that they will soon launch the security outfit, which we don't know what name it will be tagged. We know for the other regions, Amatekun and the rest. How will this play out? You're a lawmaker from that region. And the issue of state policing has been discussed over and over again. What are the hopes of this kind of setup?
Well, you see, these things, first of all, there is a problem, and we need solutions. And of course, the problem is criminality and so on. Kidnapping in my state, kidnapping is rampant. And this ditto for other states in the South-South. So we have a problem. And any solution that we can proffer, whether as governors, as senators, as ordinary citizens, any solution should be brought to the table because we need a solution. We cannot go on experiencing the kind of things that we're experiencing in Nigeria and just pretending that they're not happening. We need a solution. And we have all cried out to the federal government to do something. But I think that we now need to help the federal government and help them by proffering solutions to this problem. And so whatever it is, whatever form it takes, whatever professional and legal form that it takes, I think that we all should be behind it.
We're due for break in just about a minute and a half. Let me get to our Lagos studio with Mr. GT Ogunye. The concept of regional security outfits is now somewhat a fashionable idea that every region is now coming up with. It does remind one of the regional setup that we had in perhaps the Second Republic in the 1963, captured in the 1963 Constitution. What do you make of this new idea renewed by the governors of the South-South?
Well, you know, what is going on is that people are in the era of political improvisation, if you ask me. What we should have really is the restructuring of the policing system in Nigeria, of the law enforcement system in Nigeria. I've made this point very clear. And that's why I'm not just saying state policing or state police, because that may mislead. I'm saying that what is ideal is that the entire policing system in Nigeria be restructured in such a way that every level of government should have a law enforcement mechanism, particularly policing. I didn't christen state government. I wasn't the one who christened local government. The idea that in a federation, the law enforcement machinery should be concentrated in the hands of the central government alone is contradictory in terms. That's why in other federations, for example, not only will you have states having their own police or county, which is local government, having their own police, as in the United States, including university campuses and tertiary institutions having their own police. They also have their own jails. So you have county jails, you have state prisons, you have federal prisons. So that at every level, there is responsibility for law enforcement. And that's why in any election, you don't see state governors talking about policing. They don't take responsibility for security as such, because it is only the central government that is controlling it. Therefore, we need to have that. But in lieu of that now, when push has gotten to shove, the state governors are improvising, and nobody can condemn them, because security of life and property for some time now has been imperiled in this country. And nobody can deny that. So much so that at a time, people are now being called upon to defend themselves. With what? We do not know on that occasion. But that's the situation. So I think that what the state governments are doing on a regional level is commendable. And that if the federal government or central government has a problem with that, they had better go to court to
they are
litigate
not
on that.
happy with the idea of the zoning.
I didn't get that.
So we take a break, and when we come back, more on the issues that the South-South governors have discussed, plus what the coalition of Northern Group said today in Abuja. We'll dissect all of these issues when we return from the break, everyone. Join us again. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Every region, every state are now going to secure their livelihoods and that of their citizens. So the South-South governors today made clear what their stance are on some of the major issues they raised today: security, NDDC, VAT. These are some of the issues they raised today. The panel tonight is being Mr. Ebun Oluadegboro, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who has been joining us virtually. Senator Gashambasi, Senator of Cross River State in the National Assembly, and also Mr. GT Ogunye, Osreni, senior lawyer in our Lagos studio. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time tonight. Before I bring on yet another very interesting issue in the polity, let me get the view of Mr. Adegboro on this issue of security outfit and how it plays out in our security architecture as a nation. The idea of the South-South governors, what do you think is the way out, the solution?
Well, I believe that our expectations were very high when the president was canvassing for votes. A number of Nigerians trusted him, given his pedigree as a combatant soldier, as a retired military officer. He told us that he was going to go to the battlefront and lead the battle to be able to wipe out insurgents and terrorists. And so I believe that a number of people gave their votes to him because of these promises. But we have never had it so bad, as Nigerians don't even sleep at all, not to talk of sleeping with two eyes. You know, the activities of bandits, of terrorists, of kidnappers has more or less rubbished the performance of the present administration. And so when you get to a level where life and property are no longer secure, then that government has failed. Because you look at it from the point of view of the Constitution, which says that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. The principal purpose, the main reason why government exists is to protect its citizens and their assets. And this has failed from the point of view of the performance of this particular administration. So if you take it from that aspect, you would then appreciate why the governors have since then taken steps to be able to protect the people that they govern, and setting up Amotekun, setting up Bugagu and such other militia outfits in order to protect the people. And you can see, at least from the experience of the Southwest, Amotekun has been largely successful in partnering with the regular police, in intelligence, in policing the forest, in trying to combat crime one way or the other. There could be excesses, but largely, at least within the Southwest, we cannot say that we have not witnessed the impact of that outfit. So the experience, therefore, is for the president and the federal government to leverage on this and get to the National Assembly to indeed amend the Constitution to make security a matter for the regions, a matter for the local government, to devolve power, according to the promise given to us during the campaign for the elections. Otherwise, policing in Nigeria, when you have just average 400,000 policemen assigned to VIPs, assigned to politicians, it's now a matter of the ordinary man is left to protect himself, and is most unfortunate. And before the time goes, because of the importance of the issues discussed by their excellencies, the South-South governors, I think the three things that the president promised us: security, fighting corruption, and fixing the economy. I mean, and it's a challenge on that program of fighting corruption that close to 6 years of this administration, the most important agency for the people of the South-South, for the people of the Niger Delta, which is the NDDC, is under the pocket of a single individual. Budgets run into billions of naira, like 300 billion naira, is being approved in very controversial circumstances by the National Assembly for only one person to manage, the Minister of Niger Delta. And I don't know why President Buhari has been unable to constitute the board of the NDDC according to the law that sets up that agency since he was sworn into office. And I think it's a major challenge, because if you are fighting corruption, the best way to do so is to follow the law. The best way to do so is to audit the activities of the NDDC and ensure that the money voted for projects, the money voted for the development of the people actually is being used for that purpose. And I believe that even before the end of this regime, it's not likely that this government will constitute the board of the NDDC. You leave the fate of millions of people in the hands of a single individual, siphoning money and using the proceeds to oil political ambition. I mean, it's most challenging and it's most condemnable, if you can use that term, that we have to be calling on the president virtually on a monthly basis to beg him to constitute the board of the NDDC in line with his agenda for transparency and anti-corruption. That's why I commend Their Excellency, the South-South governors, for speaking in that regard. And I believe before the end of work tomorrow, the Senate should insist that the budget it approved for NDDC should no longer be managed by individuals, a single person, at the expense of 9 oil-producing states. It's very challenging, if I must say.
All right. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Let's take up yet another issue that came up today, and is in respect of what the coalition of northern groups said today. They've opposed any zoning arrangement by political parties. They've described it as unconstitutional and a plot to intimidate the North from contesting for the presidency in 2023. I would like to get your view on it. But first and foremost, let's hear from one of the members of the group. I'm being joined by the Director of Strategy and Programs of the Coalition of Northern Groups, Samaila Musa. He joins me here in our Abuja studio. Thank you so much, Samaila, for joining us tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So when your group said today that the call for zoning is unconstitutional and is a plot to intimidate the North from contesting, what does the group mean?
Yeah, of course it is unconstitutional. Is there anywhere in the Constitution of Nigeria where it's written that there will be some zoning arrangement as to where power shifts to? If there is, I mean, I challenge, you've just brought some SAN on board your program. Let them, tell us where it's written. I mean, it's a known fact. It's not constitutional. So, and if it's not constitutional, I think it's high time we just put a stop to it. So that's basically our position. So, let's
clarify, Samaila.
Yeah.
On one hand, you said it's not constitutional, so that's a legal issue which I'll allow the legal expert to weigh in on. The other angle is political. You say that the South is intimidating the North from out of contesting for in 2023. What do you mean?
Yeah. You see, what brought about that is because we noticed there have been some threats being issued over time, either by some groups or by some Southern governors issuing some form of subtle threat, to say it has to come.
Like what?
Like saying it has to come. It's either it comes to the South or nothing. We've heard such statements, and we feel, look, it shouldn't come to that. You see, politics should remain what it is. Make it free for all to participate. It's a game of numbers. It's a game of negotiations. Negotiations happen all over the world in terms of politics. So really, you need to play it by the rules of the game. To leave the threat to perhaps civil society organizations, some groups like maybe iPod and all of that, because that's what they're known for. But when politicians who are supposed to be playing the game of politics are actually, moving from politicking into issuing threats, then it becomes an issue that calls for concern.
I will assume that some of you have your biases politically in the group.
Yes.
You are members of political parties.
Well, I'm not a political...
No, I'm not talking about you specifically, but I'm saying members of a coalition of the northern groups have
some of them,
political bias. So for some reasons, we might have members of your group in the PDP. And that's where the origin of zoning is in Nigeria. So is your group saying zoning is not good? Or you just think that today zoning has become an evil in our politics?
All right. So you see, zoning in itself is not evil, right? But because it has always been there. I mean, since 1999, you get it. I mean, that was what even ushered President Obasanjo into power. It wasn't something that was overheated. at the time. Do you get it? So, and we believe, okay, this is whatever arrangement you have is for the politicians. I mean, it's at the party level. You can decide to, judge it out and say, well, it's going this direction or it's going that direction. But of course, per time, we always know that there are certain people in Nigeria who actually decide. The rest of the people can make noise. Perhaps maybe just about 6, 7 people where you can actually handpick them and say, these are decision makers. They swing the pendulum at will. You understand? And you see, these are some of the measures we want to put in place to say enough of all this. You understand?
So the implication of your press conference today is that you will not allow zoning.
Okay.
Does it mean that the North want the president for 2023?
Let me break it down. What it simply means
what
is
do
that
you want really?
What it simply means is that allow everybody to participate. Be fair enough. Don't shut the door against anyone.
So are you also saying that we should quit zoning from today?
Yes, because you see, the world has advanced, and we're also trying to see how we can move Nigeria from, those days. Because I mean, it's so sad each time we talk about the good old days.
All right.
So when are we going to experience the good? The good days? Yes.
Samaila, interesting. We have lawyers and we have a politician who is also from the South. Okay. So instead of me trying to throw sections of the Constitution to you on these areas that you've raised, let's allow the experts to speak on this. Let me bring in Mr. G.T. Ogunye. Samuel here has said, look, it's unconstitutional. That's the position of the coalition of the northern groups, that the issue of zoning is unconstitutional. What is your view on that, Mr. Ogunye?
We first and foremost, thank you. We need to understand what that term unconstitutional means, what that word means. Because we're just dealing with sound bites, people just using words carelessly without knowing the import or the true meaning of that word unconstitutional. When you say something is unconstitutional, what you're saying is that the Constitution has prohibited that. There is no provision in the Constitution that prohibits zoning of political offices or zoning of electoral, elective offices. On the contrary, the Constitution does promote inclusion, equity amongst the various ethnic nationalities in Nigeria by providing that the government at all levels of the federation must be constituted in such a way that preponderantly you don't have members of one ethnic group dominating that government. Not only at the national level or at the federal level, but also at the state level and at the local government level. It's there. And that's why you have a federal character commission. If peradventure, for example, just because we want politics to decide, it's a game of number, and so leave politics to determine who's going to be the president, who's going to be the governor of a state, and etc., etc. And repeatedly, you then have the president of the people of this country for, say, 40 years, coming from the south-south or southwest or southeast. Will that be in accordance with the spirit and intent of the Constitution? Certainly it will be not, and the answer is clear. So my view is that Nigeria is going through a lot of troubles now, and all these brickbats about everybody should be sober, including those people in your studio who are saying that they are opposing zoning or whatever. They should be sober. Many states in the northern part of the country now, people cannot go there. Even indigenes, they are ensconced in Abuja there. They can't go to their states. And also in other parts of the country. In the east, there are people who travel from overseas to see their parents in this country. And they stay in Lagos or in Abuja and ask their kids and kids to come and visit them in the cities. That's not the country we should be proud of. And so people should be sober about the direction in which our country should go. Look, this issue of rotation has a historical foundation. By the way, in ASU today, for donkey years, they have zones. Big Sam is there, you know, Adeburu, my learned brother, and Silk would testify to that. In NANS, for years, since the 80s, we've been having zone A, zone B, zone C, zone D. And there was no problem. And we've been rotating that. We were rotating that when we were there, even as students, because of the recognition that this is a diverse country. This is a plural country. This is a multi-ethnic, multi-religious country. And that there should be inclusion.
All right.
And so that's the point. So when people just talk about
bring in,
we do not want
Senator
zoning,
Bassi into the conversation. As a politician, this has a political dimension to it. What's your view on the position of the coalition of the northern groups?
Well, I don't know. I think the lawyers on the panel have, or the learned lawyer on the panel has explained this in detail. In our constitution, in the PDP, there is zoning. And the reason why there is zoning in our constitution is because it is not unconstitutional. If zoning was unconstitutional in our constitution, then there would be no zoning in the constitution of the People's Democratic Party. So I really don't understand what the problem is with zoning. Zoning does not just mean north and south. We have agreed that there are about 6 geopolitical zones in this country. So if there is zoning and then there's micro zoning. So if offices and so on are zoned to the north, even within the north, there must be fairness. And so it's not just a north-south thing. It is a Nigerian thing to ensure that we have fairness in Nigeria and unity. So I really don't understand what the issue is about.
But
it is fair.
Senator,
yes.
When the group said that the idea of the zoning is a plot to intimidate the North from contesting for the presidency in 2023, you belong to a political party that originated the issue of zoning in the Fourth Republic. How do you respond to that kind of statement?
Well, I'd rather not respond because I have not read everything that they have said. But as a general matter and on a point of principle, Nigeria belongs to all of us. Nobody can be intimidated from doing anything. But the whole issue of fairness is what we are talking about when it comes to zoning. There should be fairness in the way in which we conduct our business in Nigeria. And that is why, like the lawyer said, we have federal character laws. So I'm 100% in agreement with zoning. I'm 100% in agreement with political parties zoning offices because that is the way to carry everybody along. We must be our brother's keepers.
Samala, let me allow you to respond to some of the things. So the lawyer has clarified that the use of unconstitutional might be unconstitutional in your use.
Well,
might not be right. That's what I meant. So what do you say to that?
Well, what we mean by being unconstitutional is that it's not something that is written in the Constitution of Nigeria. And if going by that, whatever English you want to call it, I'm not a lawyer, but what we're saying is...
But you have been asked not to use the word unconstitutional because it's not right.
Whatever it is, what we know is that it's not written in the Constitution of the country. And that supersedes every other law, every other either bylaw or whatever it is that you want to talk about. But essentially is that, look, we need to move away from playing politics of ethnicity, religion, and all of that. Politicians, everybody's just hiding under, behind a needle. They all know the way to play this game. You understand? Quite a lot of time we have people who govern or who are president in this country who come from one particular region. Because, how does it affect the Igbo man selling his goods in Katsina market, for instance? How does it affect him who is the president of Nigeria? As long as he has a level playing ground to run his business, he doesn't care. You understand? And so really, politics is about negotiations. Because they all sit down the police sit to the table having a round table discussion on where these things are going.
Let me get it clear, Mr. Musa.
Yes.
Are you grandstanding or you really meant what you said when you, because your position does look like you do not want zoning no matter what. Because zoning respect the issue of religion, respect the issue of ethnicity, which are major factors in our lives as a nation.
Yeah.
We are people of diverse culture and tongues. So in that sense, we cannot run away from it. Are you saying we should hide away from those facts now?
You see, these facts are the major issues that's creating all the problems we have around us in Nigeria. And politicians, they have their own way of always dangling it in our faces whenever election year is around the corner. They dangle the issue of religion, dangle the issue of ethnicity, and all of that. You see, what we're saying essentially is that, look, don't shut the door against anyone. Make it open. You understand? Politicians will always be politicians. It's a game of negotiations.
All right.
How does it affect? Because in the long run, the man who is contesting in the South has a vice presidential candidate from the North. So it's about convictions to say, oh, me and so-so person or so-so group, we have agreed on how we're going to share these things, but not that to shut the door against some particular group and say, no, you cannot even contest this election.
Are you sure that this opinion that your group has shared today is a popular opinion in the North?
Of course it is.
All right. Let me allow Mr. Ebonolu Adegboruba to give us the final shot on the program tonight. What's your view on all of these, Mr. Adegboruba?
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate that the consideration for the leadership of Nigeria has degenerated to issues of zone, religion. But since that is what has promoted national unity and cohesion, I believe it's good to stick to that. And I must tell Mr. Samaila that Section 14(3) of the Constitution requires that public offices should be zoned in order to promote national unity and national loyalty. Section 223 of the Constitution requires all political parties to frame their constitution in such a way as to promote federal character. And both major and leading political parties in Nigeria, the PDP, in Article 7, Sub 3 of its constitution, has clearly stated that it must zone and rotate elective offices in Nigeria. And the same thing is in Article 7 of the Constitution of the All Progressive Congress to promote national unity. Indeed, APC has given itself in Article 3 to work by all provisions of the Constitution. So in that regard, it will be totally insensitive and unfair if a particular zone has produced President Muhammadu Buhari, who has exhausted or will exhaust 8 years by 2023. I don't think Mr. Sumala is telling us that the same zone that produced the current president should also then produce another president come 2023. I think that is the inequitable aspect of what people are saying generally. It is expected and desirable that after the expiration of the tenure of the current president, the southern part of Nigeria, and if you ask me in particular the southeast, should produce the president of this country in order to achieve equity and fairness. Otherwise, it will become like we're just not following the Constitution.
What a day it's been. So many issues on the table, but this is where we draw the curtains on the program tonight. But I must sincerely thank the panel tonight. Mr. Ebonolu Adegboruba, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, as well as his colleague, Mr. GT Ogunye in our Lagos studio, Senator Gasham Basi, who's also been with us virtually. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming. And Samaila Musa is the Director of Strategy and Programs with the Coalition of Northern Groups. Thank you so much tonight, Mr. Musa, for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. Yeah. That's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm Sean Kimale. Bye-bye.